Julia Haart, welcome to Jonny Gould's Jewish State.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Now, I want to try and lift the lid on your extraordinary transition from ultra-Orthodox woman to billion-dollar business mogul in the fashion industry. Kind of, how did this all come together?
Well, how many hours is this program?
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll trace it down to 8 or 9 hours for our viewers. Now, you run the Elite World Group now. What is it?
I left La Perla in 2018. I run Elite World Group. I ran it prior to my divorce from 2019 to 2021. And I have spent 3 years. I built $1 billion business. There's literally thousands of documents and bank statements and PCOB audits that prove that. And I just won not only my share of the company back, not only the 50% that I had, but also power of attorney over my soon to be ex's share of the company. So I now am in full control of Elite World Group, which is one of the largest talent management companies in the world, with offices really all over the world and representing some of the most famous people on the planet. So I run EWG and I run a company that I founded called Body by Julia, which is a very unique kind of shapewear brand because we've kind of aggregated clothing and shapewear and bras into one piece. So women can buy things not just by their dress size, but by their cup size, which is kind of exciting. So those are the companies I'm currently running.
Well, this sounds like your insight from the world of Zaftig women.
No, this actually has everything to do with the fact that I don't want women to ever be uncomfortable. I hate the idea
Yeah.
that there's $8 billion worth of women who wear shapewear, and all of them try to hide it because it's so incredibly ugly. No one wants to get undressed in front of anyone wearing granny panties. So it's actually my whole idea came from Bridget Jones's Diary because there's holes in my pop culture knowledge. So I watch shows a bit later than most people have. So I saw Bridget Jones Diary like in 20, I don't know, 16 or 2017, and it gave me this idea because I was like, wait a minute, what do women actually do
Yeah.
when they're about to be undressed? And they're wearing granny panties. Because you know that scene in Bridget Jones where she's sitting
Yes.
on her bed and she's holding those nasty panties and
Bloomers.
she has, that's right, but they're the shapewear ones, right? They suck you in. And then she decides, okay, she's going to wear them so she could look good at the party. But she's like, and this way I can't bring him home because no one wants to get undressed. She gets tipsy, she brings him home, and you have that cringe scene where she's on the floor and he's undressing her and he's like, look at these naughty little shoes and this naughty little dress. And then he sees the shapewear and he's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what is that?
This
And
is Hugh Grant.
and because of that, I was like, wait a minute, what do women do? And I started asking around, and women gave me the wildest answer. Wild. And so I realized I need to create shapewear that doesn't look like shapewear, that looks like lingerie. So if someone takes your clothes off, they'll never know. And that's what we've done. It's colored, it patterned. You would never in a billion years know that it was lingerie. And in fact, for our next collection, we are launching shapewear swimwear and shapewear athleisure because why not?
Yes, Julia, keep on keeping on. And I'll never understand why women wear shoes that they can't walk in. If I'm out with a lady, we have to park outside so that she doesn't have to walk more than 15 feet to wherever we're going. Why do women suffer for their fashion? Why do they wear shoes that don't belong on their hands, let alone their feet?
Love that. So I actually started with a shoe brand. I don't have a shoe brand now. I sold the exclusive use of the patents pending that I created, and I closed it when I became creative director of La Perla because I couldn't do both. And La Perla was such a huge opportunity for me because I left my community November 2012, started my shoe brand January 2013, and May 2016, I became creative director of the world's largest and most exclusive lingerie brand. So basically, 3 years out of walking out of Muncie and making Shabbos dinners, I was running an enormously large lingerie brand, which is why my book is From Long Sleeves to Lingerie, because the trajectory is pretty amusing.
Yes.
Um, so that's how I started. I started by designing shoes. And the reason I chose shoes was twofold. I'm a size 4 foot, which I'm a 34, or in UK size, I think I'm a 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Tiny, tiny foot, like a child. So very few brands make shoes my size. And I'm
That is
also
tiny.
tiny, tiny, like minuscule. It's honestly like a 3.5. I'm like a 1.5, but nobody does that.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And number two, I am vertically challenged. I'm 5 feet tall.
Well, that explains a lot about size 1.5.
There you go. I'm 5 feet tall. I'm very small. And so I've worn heels since I was in 10th grade. And I could not understand why in when I started the company in 2013, we were having hotels in the moon and you could travel the universe, but we couldn't find a way to create shoes that were both comfortable and elegant and luxurious. Basically, a woman's choice was nurse shoes that looks like a nurse's shoe, very comfortable, but about as sexy as I am tall. And again, I think every nurse on earth will agree with me. Those are not sexy shoes. Or you had to wear like a Louboutin or Giuseppe Zanotti that looked very elegant, but were excruciatingly painful. And so invented, I, I, I called it Cloud9 technology. I got patents pending on it. And basically, I changed the arch of the shoe so the pressure points were evenly distributed across the entirety of your foot, thereby alleviating the pain of having the full weight of your body on the front part of your shoes. And it made such an enormous difference that before I closed the company, um, what was the name of the Four Seasons of Hong Kong was going to carry my shoes in their spa
Ah.
because they were so ergonomically designed and so comfortable. Now, I'm not saying my shoes were like sneakers because obviously I will not make that claim, but they were damn close. And for the first time, people could wear luxurious shoes that were also incredibly comfortable.
So you don't get this redesign and ingenuity in Milan. All they seem to be concerned with is the design. And it sounds like how Nike unpacked and redesigned the sneaker and the trainer, doesn't it? It's that evolution to a piece of science for comfort.
I tend to be an industry disruptor. So when I came into the shoe industry, I said luxury and comfort. When I came into the lingerie industry, we created the first ever stretch levers lace. People were not making stretch chiffons and stretch lace at the time because they were wrapping elastin around silk and lace threads and it would make a very heavy fabric. And we ended up utilizing threads that had the elastin within it. So the first time in history, we made the first ever levers lace stretchy. We called it the Freedom Panty. I think it sold out worldwide in like 2 3 weeks. I don't remember the exact amount. And then I created ready to wear within La Perla that had the bras built inside the clothing. We were the first people to ever do that. So I did a lot of innovations. And again, all of it was about comfort and beauty. Women should not have to suffer for beauty anymore. And when I started that, I had a very famous editor from a very famous fashion magazine call me and say, Julia, I really like what you're doing. I think you're a brilliant designer, so I'm going to give you a piece of really good advice. Comfort is a dirty word in the fashion industry. Women suffer for beauty. That's our thing. And my response to this editor was, not anymore. And
No
then
longer.
a year and a half later, I get a phone call from the same editor who says, you know what? You just changed the industry. Comfort is no longer a dirty word.
You know, Sex and the City could have made another series out of this if Carrie Bradshaw hadn't tottered around Manhattan in those ill-fitting Blahniks.
Yeah, why should women suffer for beauty?
Who needs it, indeed? Now, I've spoken to another ultra-Orthodox woman who made the transition to unorthodox, talking of Netflix and talking of that term, and that's Deborah Feldman, who told her incredible story about leaving the Satmar in Williamsburg to lead a completely secular life in Berlin. So much so that even her son hasn't even had a bar mitzvah. So, how does this new religion work for you? How do you consolidate your old Jewish life with your present Jewish life? How does it work, Julia?
So I'm a bacon eating, crab loving Jew. Um, love bacon and crab's probably my favorite food on earth.
Do you still wait 6 hours For eating milk after your bacon.
Oh
What?
yeah, that one.
You eat bacon and crab?
Love both. Um, I am a very spiritual person. I think I
Yes.
talk to God more now than I did ever before. And
Really?
as you know, oh, 100%. I mean, my life is just a series of miracles. Look what, in 11 years, I built a $1 billion business, sold a television show that was one of the top 10 in 127 countries, sold a best-selling book. I mean, I've done a few things in 11 years, you know? So it's all miracles. I mean, I speak to God every day. I don't This morning, I literally woke up and the first thing I did was I did a gratitude meditation, just
Right.
saying thank you to God. So I don't, I have so much faith and so much gratitude to God. I have so much love for the Jewish people. I could not be prouder to be a Jew. My one issue has been and always will be with any society that tells women that they are defined by their biology, that their purpose in life is to be wives and mothers, that the way for them to be loved by God is to hide their bodies and hide their voices and be silent and subservient to men. In my world, a woman is only good or bad in relation to a man, right? If she dresses improperly and she talks too much and she's noticeable, she's a bad woman because she's causing men to sin. If she's quiet and unassuming and stays at home and cooks and does whatever her husband says, then God loves her. She on her own has no purpose or meaning. It is only in connection and conjunction to how she relates to men.
But you know, you're very lucky to have born into the 21st century to enable yourself to be able to have the freedom to live your life as a woman, to be a commercial success, but still evolve from the life that you had before. You're very lucky to be steeped in the education that you have in the past because you haven't got rid of it, have you? It's still very much a part of you. I still, when I wake up in the morning, I'll say the Modeh Ani. Do you say the Modeh Ani? I mean, what do you say in the morning? Do you say something else? Do you speak to the
To me,
universe?
unconditional love actually means unconditional love. You can't say God loves you unconditionally and then put 1,000 conditions on it.
But equally, you do want to bring your kids up as Jews, don't you? It is still your value system.
My
And
kids are adults. I have no
yes.
more kids to
Okay.
bring up. They're
Okay.
all adults. They're extremely uh, active, pro-Israel, pro-Zionist Jews. My children have been threatened. If would send you some of the images that they've received, the one from that Batsheva got to me is probably the worst of everything we've received because we get death threats all the time. Okay,
Who'd you get death threats from?
from pro-Palestinians, pro-Hamas
Right.
people all the time.
Right.
And Batsheva got a DM with a picture of, imagine a baby carriage with the wheels and the handle, and but the body of the baby carriage, instead of being a baby carriage, was a little mini oven, and there was a baby in the oven, and the caption read, "This is what a Jewish baby's carriage should be."
Mm.
So
Mm.
my family and I have been very public facing advocates for the Jewish people and standing against anti-Semitism.
Yes.
And what I always tell people when they ask me, but how can you complain about this? And the answer is very simple. When you in the UK or people in America fought for women's rights to vote, did that mean they had hatred for the UK or hatred for the United States? All the laws that have been enacted from the Magna Carta photo, does that come from hate or from a desire for the place that you love to be more just and equitable?
Yes, a progressive idea of social improvement as opposed to a destructive one.
I want women to have choice and opportunity and autonomy in their lives. That doesn't come from a place of anger. It doesn't come from a place of hate. I will support the Jewish people, the super religious Jewish people. I will defend every Haredi and every Hasidic person, and I will stand in any way I can in solidarity with them against anti-Semitism against the world. However, that does not change the fact that there are laws that are in those communities that are wrong and that hold women down. If I tell you that, I'll tell you two stories that are very, very indicative of what's going on in that world. I was in Israel I've gone to Israel because of, since October 7th, I wanted to be on the ground with the Israeli people in December and January of 2023 to 2024 when it was full on. I went into Gaza with an active unit. Um, I figured if they put their lives on the line, so should I. And I've never felt more protected and safe in my life, to be honest. But you know, I went there and I visited Jerusalem, and I visited a family that I had become, friendly with, and they have 14 children or 15, I can't remember. So one of their daughters, we went out to lunch, and then one of their daughters said, "Why don't I walk you back to the car?" And and we had gone to some kosher restaurant and whatever, and she walks me back and she says, "Please help me get out." Help me get out. And of course, we have been, but she told me that her entire class, and this is in Israel, this is not in the United States, her entire class have watched the show. Her entire class agrees and is trying to find ways to, you know, get rid of these. I mean, these are just, they're wrong. They have to go. They're not about Judaism. They're
Yeah.
extremist, fundamentalist laws that are just wrong. Women are not responsible for men's sins. I have more respect for men. I have more faith in men. I know that men can control themselves and they don't need to disappear in order to do the right thing. And that's what this is all about.
Yes, and the reason why I asked you about where the death threats came from, and obviously the pro-Palestinian camp is almost certainly where they always come from, is how cut off are you from the world and the life and the people that you left behind? Presumably, your brothers and sisters, families, uncles and aunts are still ultra-Orthodox. Is there any luck there? Are you still in contact with them?
They don't speak to me.
Is there no channel open for you at all in Muncie in New York? Is there anyone who reaches out to you secretly? Any secret channels there? What's happened to your old life in Muncie?
So it's really actually very interesting. My closest friends from Muncie, neither of them dropped me.
Right.
They stood by me. Even though obviously we have very vast difference of opinions on religion, we get together all the time. We have the most beautiful relationship. I love them with all my heart and soul, as I love everyone in my community. Honestly, like, they can attack me and yell at me as much as they want. I'm not going to hate them because it isn't about hate. I just want the laws to change. I want women to have more. That's all I want. That's it. So you can hate me as much as you want. I'm not going to hate you back. I'm just not going to, because I love the Jewish people. I think we're epically cool. We've accomplished such extraordinary things in history. We have been at the forefront of every civil movement. There are, I think, over 60% of Nobel Prize laureates are Jews. We we love the people who fight us. We worry about our enemies. Show me another nation that can say that. We are epically fucking cool. And I could not be prouder to be a Jew. Seriously.
This is all great, and the ultra-Orthodox argument and the modern Orthodox argument, in fact, puts Torah and Jewish values at the very, very top, and everything else, even sometimes family relationships, beneath it. Whereas secular Judaism puts kind of tikkun olam, healing the world, at the top of absolutely everything, even above Torah values. They're kind of out there in the universe, and it is an assimilatory value. I mean, these things do happen, and it is the kind of modern day schism, isn't it? There's always been schisms between Jewish communities, but this seems to be the one today.
Here's my answer to that. There is, from my perspective, zero wrong with the modern Orthodoxy. Zero. Keep Shabbos, keep kosher, keep holidays, no problem. I don't know a single modern Orthodox family where the woman did not go to college, where she doesn't wear pants, or she's not a full member of the outside world, which is why I'm very careful in my television, everywhere I go, to say, I think modern Orthodoxy is great. You want to keep Shabbos? Beautiful. Shabbos is gorgeous. Modern Orthodoxy does not tell women they have to get engaged at 19. Not tell women that they have to be tzniut. Modern Orthodoxy does not tell women they can't go to college. My only issue is with those laws, and that has nothing to do with modern Orthodoxy, honestly, at all. It is very specific to the extreme ultra Orthodox the Litvish, the Heimish, the Hasidish, the Briskers, that group where if I would, if I don't know how much time we have, but someone sent me a letter from Beis Yaakov where I went to school, because they said, oh, Julia's exaggerating. Of course, people go to college from Beis Yaakov. Someone sent me a letter from Beis Yaakov itself saying, if your daughter is contemplating going to college in the community, they're not talking about Stanford and Columbia, they're talking about those religious colleges that are online. You need to immediately inform the school, and we need to sit down because we do not agree with any kind of college whatsoever. Your daughter needs to go from this to marriage. Literally says it on a document. That's the problem. And that has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with orthodoxy. It is an extremist fundamentalist concept that I think comes from Islam, if you ask me, and from, the world that existed until the 1800s. Like if you look at the rules I lived under, those are the rules all women lived under in the 1800s.
And the world turns, and it always turns, and there'll always be rows between Jewish community leadership. I was told about the ones in Lithuania where the yeshiva bochers of the time, the kids were turning to the newly emerging Soviet cities of equality, to the Zionism of the late 19th century, and heads were being turned, and the old Lithuanian yeshiva bochers didn't like it at all. And there'll always be something, there'll always be a balagan, there'll always be a Taurus between the religious and the secular. It will still go on, even to unknown uh, pressures in the 22nd century.
I think I believe in change. So first, hearing from those girls really made a massive impression on me. And then I'm going to tell you one other thing. I was at an event, a political event here in New York. And as you know, the Hasidic community is very, very active in politics in New York, which again, no, nothing wrong with it. It's just a fact. And there was a man at this party, one of the most famous figures in ultra-Orthodox Judaism. I don't think there is a person in my community, or in honestly any Hasidic community, any, Litvish, any community that doesn't know who this person is. And he sees me and I see him, and he's got all his shamashim. They travel with an entourage, and they start walking towards me, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I'm gonna get yelled at for being an apikores and not, but I am standing my ground. I am not budging. So I'm standing there, waiting while this entourage comes towards me. And this man, he's a very tall guy, and again, I'm 5 feet tall, leans down and says to me in front of his entire entourage, Miss Haart, my wife and my daughters thank you, and walked away. Change is possible. I think religion is beautiful. I love so much of what I learned in my community. Chesed, kindness, charity, always thinking about those outside of yourself. I love the fact today is Purim, right? Today is the holiday Purim. You know what I love about Purim? That the focus in Judaism is always about giving and not taking, right? What do you do on Halloween? You knock on doors and you ask for candy. What do you do today on Purim? You knock on doors and you give candy. Judaism is always about what you owe to others and not what you are owed. There is no Bill of Rights in Jewish law. There's a Bill of Responsibility. You learn your rights through others' responsibility. Because again, the focus is on what you owe to the world and not what the world owes you. There's gratitude and charity. I give 10% of everything I have to charity. Until this day, I think it is a beautiful thing to tithe everything you have. And I feel blessed that I have something to tithe, to be honest. So, so to me, Judaism is magnificent. The laws that are literally antithetical to religion, the laws that say women, God gives a woman a voice, but she's not allowed to use it. God gives women a talent, she's not allowed to use it. All women, by definition, are just bodies of procreation. No, it's not true. And it is not what God wants. And it's wrong and it needs to end. But that does not mean the end of orthodoxy, because I think it's beautiful. I think as long as your religious beliefs don't harm others, gesundheit.
But not all secular Jews have the grounding and deep educational soul and values that you have, and so therefore can drift away. And I just really want to say to you how lucky you are to have that education in your locker in your new secular world. It has contributed to your success, hasn't it? It's not a coincidence that you've set yourself free and been $1 billion success. It is down to your religious background, I think.
Here again, maybe you'll think I'm idealistic or that I have a rosy picture of humanity, but I really do think, again, there's historic precedent to this. The one thing that October 7th has done is brought Jews from every sect together. A few days ago, no, right before I went to London, I started to cry. I was so moved. I have never seen this before in my life. Brooklyn Hasidim out there by the thousands waving Israeli flags. That would not have happened before October 7th. So to your point, I agree. Jews have been very isolated, sect from sect from sect. I think what's happened now has given us a chance to get to know each other, to see that what unites us is so much greater than what divides us. Now is not a time for us to focus on our differences. Now is our time for us to focus on a common enemy that doesn't care if you have a black hat or a spudik or a kippah or you're not wearing anything. They see Jew and they're going to kill all of us. So I tell people three things all the time. This is like I feel like almost a record, on repeat, like just hit me. When there's a fire and your home is on fire and someone offers you water, you don't say, I only have Evian water. Thank you very much. When your house is on fire, you take whatever water is available and you throw it on the fire. Reform water, conservative water, Hasidic, I don't care. Our house is on fire. We got to use all the water. There's so few of us. We don't have a lot of water to begin with. We all got to put our water together and kill that fire. And the other thing I remind people of is, uh, the joke about the island, the guy on the island. Have you ever heard this one?
About the two synagogues. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, right? A guy on an island, he builds a synagogue for himself and the synagogue he doesn't go to.
Yes, yes.
Um, Menachem Begin was once speaking to Jimmy Carter, and you know how like the Israeli government falls down all the time and then has to be you know what I'm talking.
Yeah.
So he says to Menachem Begin, he's like, dude, I don't get you. You've got a couple of million people in your country, and you guys can't keep a government together. You're constantly breaking governments. He's like, I've got hundreds of millions in America. This has never happened to us. So Menachem Begin looks at Jimmy Carter and he says, Mr. President, you may have 250 million citizens. I have 4 million presidents, right?
Yes.
We're an Am Kishay Oref. We are a stiff-necked people. We're fucking stubborn, and we've needed to be to survive. However, today, right now, hate me later, disagree with me later. Right now, we all have to come together because if we don't, evil wins, fundamentalism wins, terrorism wins. Let's use all the water and yell at each other later.
And this is the Second Temple idea of a lack of unity ending actually in the Jewish people's exile for thousands of years before the State of Israel was created. And I was fortunate enough to go into Gaza just 6 weeks before October the 7th, maybe for the last time for a very, very long time. And there was a complacency down there, and this judicial reform row was getting on top of people, and there was unprecedented tension from Hezbollah in the north, from Judea and Samaria. There was a Jenin um, involvement by the IDF at that time as well to get rid of some of the problems that we had there. But I do have one final question. Julia, where will you be in 10 years' time? Presumably the trajectory will continue in an upward trajectory in your business, but also where will the Jewish people in the State of Israel be in 50 to 100 years' time?
Oh God, those are great. In Hebrew, there's an expression, Sheila tova chatzi tshuva. A good question is half an answer.
Yes.
So, okay, where do I see myself in 10 years? Well, I've invented a couple of things that I've been holding off on because I needed my money and my company back, and I was stuck in this divorce. I'm a few weeks away, hopefully, from all of that being over. I think these projects and have historic impact on the world, or at least I hope so. Uh, I'm really, really excited about them. I don't want to talk about them because I would rather do than say. But the two projects that I have coming up are inventions that may help people communicate completely differently than they have before, and hopefully create, uh, because we sometimes we speak the same language without speaking the same language. And then my other one is kind of hopefully a way to stop child labor. Again, I'd rather talk less and do, and then see you'll invite me on next, and you'll be like, oh, Julia, you know that thing, is that what you were talking about? So that's answer one. In terms of Israel and the Jewish people, I hope that number one, this forces the Jewish people to get together and support each other and work hand in hand, no matter our differences. And number two, I genuinely hope that, you know, I was at an event with, oh gosh, I'm so abysmal with names. She's a brilliant woman. She runs a think tank. She was the Secretary of State under Bush, Madeleine Albright.
Oh, yes, yes, Madeleine Albright, and she had 3 Jewish grandparents, unbeknown to her, apparently.
I love that. So Madeleine Albright is sitting at this breakfast that I'm in, and a reporter says to her, well, don't you think now that people are starting to understand how bad Hamas is, that it's actually bad because it's going to elongate what's happening in the Middle East, and now more people are going to die. And she looked at this reporter, and her answer was so good, I'm going to use it, although I'm probably paraphrasing it. She said, you should be on your hands and knees, as should everyone in the Western world, because the Jews are the only thing, and the state of Israel is the only thing standing between extremist, fundamentalist evil and modern society. And that's my answer.
Well, Julia Hart, a whole host of answers which have raised even more questions, and I hope that you'll come on the show again. Thank you again for joining us right here on Jonny Gould's Jewish State.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate you. Thank you.